There is a single page in the Vardas Municipal Archives that lists 180,000 names under the heading Registry of Displaced Persons, Winter 1871. The list is not alphabetized. It is not organized by region, family name, or age. It simply runs, name after name, in what appears to be the order they were recorded. The page is dated the 3rd of December, 1871. 3 weeks later, on the 24th of December, a fire destroyed the building where the full registry was kept. This single page is all that survived. I found it while researching migration patterns in the northern territories of Vardas during the 1870s. I was looking for documentation of how communities absorbed refugees from the provincial restructuring. What I found instead was a gap, a specific, documented gap where 180,000 people were recorded, then lost, then never accounted for, in any subsequent census or municipal record. The official explanation, a converted warehouse in Talmuth's Port District, caught fire on the 24th of December 1871. Started at 11 p.m., destroyed by 2 a.m. The registry records inside were lost. Cause: faulty heating stove. No injuries classified as accidental. The single surviving page had been removed 3 weeks earlier by Clerk Osmond Trell for a provincial council report. He returned it in January 1872, where it was filed under incident documentation, Registry Fire Wone, 180,000 people. In a city of 320,000, they represented more than half the existing population. They had arrived between June and November 1871, fleeing what documents call the Northern Reorganization, an administrative consolidation of sparsely populated provinces, villages absorbed into townships, land reassessed, populations relocated. The displaced moved south to Talmuth. The city established a registry to track them. The registry was maintained by the Office of Provincial Coordination, a department created specifically to manage the Northern Reorganization. The office operated out of the converted warehouse in the Port District. Registry clerks recorded each displaced person's name, region of origin, occupation, family composition, and intended destination. The records were kept in bound ledgers, organized chronologically by date of arrival. By December 1871, the registry contained 180,000 names. Here is what I keep coming back to. The fire occurred on the 24th of December, exactly 3 weeks after Osmond Trell removed the summary page. The timing is notable because Trell's summary was supposed to be presented to the Provincial Council on the 27th of December. The fire destroyed the source documents 3 days before the council meeting. The meeting was postponed. When it finally occurred in January 1872, Trell presented his summary page, explained that the full registry had been lost in the fire, and recommended that the council authorize funds for reconstructing the records through individual interviews with displaced persons still residing in Talmuth. The council voted against the recommendation. The meeting minutes, preserved in the provincial archives, state that the cost of reconstruction would be prohibitive, and that most displaced persons had likely already returned north or moved on to other cities. The summary page was accepted as sufficient documentation. No further action was taken. But here is the detail that doesn't fit. I found immigration records from the Port of Talmuth covering the period December 1871 through March 1872. These records document everyone who left the city by ship during those months. The port maintained meticulous logs for customs and taxation purposes. The logs show approximately 8,400 departures during that period, including both Talmuth residents and transient visitors. If 180,000 displaced persons had been residing in Talmuth in December 1871, and only 8,400 people left by ship over the next 3 months, where did the other 171,600 go? Talmuth had no rail connection at the time. The only ways to leave were by ship, by foot along coastal roads, or by wagon through mountain passes that were impassable in winter. I checked city census records. The 1870 census recorded Talmuth's population as 318,000. The 1875 census, the next one conducted, recorded 334,000, an increase of 16,000 over 5 years. Normal growth for a city of that size. But if 180,000 displaced persons had arrived in 1871 and remained, the 1875 census should have shown a population of close to 500,000, even accounting for some departures and deaths. The numbers don't reconcile. I searched for 50 names from the summary list. Random selections, distributed across the alphabetical range. I cross-referenced them against every municipal record from 1871 through 1880. Birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, property deeds, business registrations. I found 3 matches. 1 marriage license from 1873, 1 property deed from 1876, 1 death certificate from 1878, 3 out of 50. If that proportion holds, approximately 10,800 of the 180,000 remained in Talmuth. The other 169,200 disappeared from official records. Here is where the timing becomes difficult to explain. The Office of Provincial Coordination, which had managed the registry, was dissolved in February 1872. 2 months after the fire, the dissolution was announced in a brief administrative notice. No explanation was given. The office's remaining staff were reassigned to other departments. The warehouse where the office had been located was sold to a private shipping company in March 1872. I found employment records for the registry clerks who had worked in that office. Between June and December 1871, the office employed 17 clerks, all tasked with maintaining the displaced persons registry. After the office dissolved, 12 of them were reassigned to standard municipal clerical positions. The other 5 left city employment entirely. I traced 3 of them through later records. 1 became a school teacher in a southern province. 1 opened a shop in Talmuth. 1 appears in the 1880 census in a different city entirely. None of them, in any document I could find, ever mentioned the registry or the fire. I found one exception, a letter, dated March 1876, written by a former registry clerk named Petra Vaughn to a friend in another city. The letter was donated to the Vardis Historical Archives as part of a personal papers collection. In it, Vaughn mentions her time working for the Office of Provincial Coordination. She writes, "It was strange work, recording all those names. I often wondered where they all went afterward. They told us not to ask questions, just to write down what we were given." She doesn't elaborate. The letter moves on to other topics. But here is what bothers me most. I found incident reports from the Talmuth Fire Brigade covering December 1871. The brigade responded to 7 fires that month. The registry warehouse fire is listed, dated the 24th of December. The report is brief. It notes the time the alarm was raised. 11:17 p.m., the time the brigade arrived. 11:35 p.m., and the time the fire was extinguished. 2:14 a.m. Cause faulty heating stove. Damage, total loss of structure and contents. Injuries none. The report includes a notation I haven't seen in any of the other fire reports from that month. It reads, "Building cleared prior to brigade arrival. No civilian evacuation required." The registry office operated during daytime hours. It closed at 5 p.m. daily. The fire started at 11:17 p.m., more than 6 hours after closing. The building should have been empty, but the notation suggests someone confirmed it was cleared. Not that it was already empty, that it had been cleared. I requested additional documentation from the fire brigade archives. I wanted to know who cleared the building and when. The archivist checked the incident file. There were no supplementary reports, just the single-page incident summary. The archivist mentioned something that caught my attention. She said fires in commercial buildings typically generated more paperwork. Witness statements, property owner interviews, insurance assessments, especially for total losses. The registry fire had none of that, just the one-page incident report. I asked if records might have been lost or misfiled. She checked the catalog system. All other fires from December 1871 had complete documentation packages. Only the registry fire had a single page. The warehouse had been owned by the city government, leased to the Office of Provincial Coordination for 3 marks per month. I found the lease agreement in the municipal property records. It was signed in May 1871, 1 month before displaced persons began arriving in Talmuth. The lease term was 1 year, ending May 1872. The fire occurred in December 1871, 5 months before the lease expired. After the fire, the city sold the land to a shipping company. The sale was finalized in March 1872, 1 month before the original lease would have ended. The shipping company demolished the remaining foundation and built a new warehouse on the site within 6 months. I tried to find documentation of what was in the destroyed registry, beyond the names themselves, what information had been recorded. The summary page shows only names, no other details. But Trell's report to the Provincial Council, the one presented in January 1872, mentions that the full registry included comprehensive documentation of origins, family structures, and relocation intentions. That documentation is gone. No copies were made. No secondary records exist. I found one more document that I haven't been able to reconcile. It is a letter dated the 15th of January, 1872, addressed to the provincial governor. The letter is from a citizen of Talmuth, a shopkeeper named Marin Cord. She writes, "I respectfully inquire about the status of the northern persons who were residing in our district. Since the fire, I have not seen any of the families who were previously my customers. I am concerned for their welfare and wish to know if they have been relocated or if assistance is needed." There is no record of a response. The letter was filed in routine correspondence and forgotten. The displaced persons arrived in Talmuth over 6 months. They were registered, documented, and tracked by a dedicated municipal office. Then, in a single night, the records of their existence burned. The office that maintained those records was dissolved 2 months later. The building was demolished and replaced, and 180,000 people who had been living in a city of 320,000 left, no trace in any subsequent census or civil record. The official explanation is that they dispersed, returned north, moved to other cities, died, assimilated into the existing population without documentation. Reasonable explanations, all of them. Except for the timing, except for the lack of corresponding records anywhere else, except for the single surviving page that confirms they existed and then stops. I requested access to the Northern Provincial Archives, thinking perhaps records of returning displaced persons might exist there. The archivist informed me that most records from the Northern reorganization period were lost in a separate fire in 1874. Different province, different building, same result. The single summary page remains in the Vardis Municipal Archives, filed in a folder labeled Incident Documentation. Registry Fire. 1871. It contains 180,000 names. No ages, no origins, no destinations. Just names, written in the order they were recorded, by clerks who were told not to ask questions. The names are still there, catalogued, preserved, waiting for someone to explain where the people who carried them went.